Today I'm going to do a review on Banter 7 Single Barrel, the latest release. And I think I beat the big league bourbon whiskey reviewers on YouTube to this one. I know I did. Hey, it's Matt from Bourbon Banters 2020. I'm going to review this Banter 7 Single Barrel 107 proof. It is 8 years 1 month, and it was barreled January 2014. Doing the math, they bottled this thing February 2022. Don't get any more recent than that. I picked this bottle up at Upside Down Speedway Liquor in Fort Mojave, Arizona. Great people there, gave me a couple good bottles. I bought it for $59 and change, and so I bought it for MSRP, which is $60. This is a great bottle if it's anything like the 7-year 3 month. And me talking a little crap at the intro there, everyone is doing the latest Stag Junior or the Stag and the latest Russell's 13. Yeah, those are great bottles, but we're not going to get them for under 500 bucks each. Anywhere between 200 to 500 on those bottles. This thing, 60 bucks all day long. Great bottle, great taste. And I'm going to do a quick review. I'm going to run down the spec sheet on this thing. It's the Jim Beam product, 107 proof. It's going to be at least 7 years. This one's got 8 years 1 month. My other one that I did a review on earlier was 7 years 3 months. The Jim Beam group of whiskeys that they have is going to be actually Jim Beam, Basil Hayden, Knob Creek, Booker's, and Baker's. This one's named after Jim Beam's great nephew, Baker Beam. And the mash bill is going to be 77 corn, 13% rye, 10% malt and barley. And that's the same for this single barrel, the 7-year 3 month single barrel, and even their small batch that is no longer around. History's on these single barrels. Baker's 7 was a small batch, which I think they discontinued about 2018, and came out with a single barrel, and that was in 2019. And the bottle I have, I think, was of the 7-year 3 month was a 2020 roughly release. This thing bottled it February of 2022. Don't get any more newer than that. And if you can find it, which you can, it's available. It's not allocated. So with the Russell's 13 and the Stag, you're going to pay an arm and a leg for those things. This is going to stay about 60. So I'm going to pour me a glass real quick, get this thing going, and enjoy. Pretty good pour. And besides that, bottle top looks cool. The new bottle looks great. Very recognizable, and you'll be able to spot it on a shelf. Just as long as you don't pay over 65 bucks, because if it's at a mom and pop's place, you know, you got to help them keep the lights on. So anything under 65 bucks, well worth it. But this ain't one of those allocated items. If you can find it, get it. Just open the bottle, got to let it air out a little bit. It's got some good legs on the glass. So it's probably pretty creamy. I'm sure it's going to taste pretty good, but to the nose. Get a little caramel, a little peanut in there, consistent with Jim Beam. A little rice spice. And maybe now for a sip. I'm going to take the first sip, first one of the day. All right, I'm going to take a sip and let you know what the palate thinks. All right, on the palate, right off the get-go, you get that vanilla and that caramel, a little bit of that rye, maybe a little brown sugar kind of settling in on that front of the palate, and it just coats nice. And got some oak, maybe a hair bit of leather, but very little. But so good so far. Take another sip. Yep, duplicated exactly the sip before, you know, it's that caramel, vanilla, a little bit of that rye. I'm going to get that little bit of that brown sugar, and it just seems like that brown sugar just melts and coats the whole mouth. And I'm getting that oak with that, just a little bit of leather on that oak. So very good. I'm going to take one more sip for the finish and just kind of let it sit back there and see what I'm getting on the backside. One more. As it kind of sits back there for the finish, I'm getting that vanilla, kind of nutty oak just kind of settles in there, a little warm, 107 proof. And it just kind of linger around for a little bit, but that's what you need for a good bourbon whiskey. Let it stick around for a little bit so you don't have to keep hitting that glass to keep that taste going. It's just still there, and it's going to be there for a little bit, I think. But this thing is really good. Let me do one more for the finish. Yeah, that one there got a lot of vanilla and oak, and then a little bit more nuttiness to it. Man, this stuff's great. This 8-year, 1 month old, just released, and I think, like I said, I think I beat the other big league bourbon whiskey guys on YouTube to the punch because they're too busy looking for the allocated. So normally that would be it, but I'm going to kind of match it up and see if it's better, same, worse than the 7-year, 3 month Baker 7. I'm going to pour me a real quick glass on the 7-year, 3 month and see how it goes from there. So if you think I am using the same bottle, on the top of each bottle it has the age on it. Alright, for the nose on the 7-year, 3 month. First sip on the 7-year, 3 month, caramel, vanilla, not that much rye, but like a brown sugar oakish on the palate there. 7-year, 3 month coats the tongue perfectly, just like the 8-year, 1 month. And I think with the 7-year, 3 month, it's going to be a little more nuttier than the 8-year, 1 month. It's pretty good, but as I kind of let it sit there on the finish, I'm going to take one more just so I can overload the finish on this. And on that, just kind of having it settle there for the finish. It's a nuttier oak with a little bit of vanilla in there, whereas the 8-year, 3 month is more of a vanilla oak with a hint of nuttiness on it. Hey, they're both great. Both great. And I ain't gonna stop there. One of my very first bottles I ever bought, I'm at Ralph's. I had to text my buddy Jason, who I think he's like the Dalai Lama of whiskeys in our little circle. And I showed him a picture and he goes, yeah, get it. So I bought it. It's one of my first bottles. Baker 7 small batch. I don't think they make this anymore. I've never seen it, and matter of fact, I know they don't make it anymore. This is, you know, stopped like 2018, 2019 as a small batch, and they started the single barrel. Mash bill's exactly the same. It's at 77 corn, 13 rye, and 10 malted barley. They're all the same. So I think what they did is they made it a single barrel, which I think it's great. This is like an old school wine bottle type look, and they switched it up to this, much more recognizable. Recognizing. You notice this a little bit better, layman's terms. So, with the small batch, smells very sweet, caramel, and vanilla on there. Not a whole lot of rye. Maybe a little bit of peanut. But this is a small batch. It's a blend of mini barrels. make a small batch. So very faint on the palate, but you still get that caramel, vanilla, a little bit of that rye, and that brown sugar with the yolk. But it's not as pronounced as the 7-year 3-month and even the 8-year 1-month. 8-year 1-month has more kick of flavors. You turn the dial up on the flavor. So to start off with this and bringing it over to a single barrel, I think Jim Beam did a great job doing this. So with this is the flagship, discontinued about 2018-2019, released the single barrel, the 7-year 3-month, and then they just released a few months ago the 8-year 1-month. 8-year 1-month has that dial turned up to 9, maybe 10 on the flavors coming out, getting you same Jim Beam signature notes. So good. You get that little bit of that nuttiness at the palate, and a little bit less on the finish compared to the one before that. Got a little more. The 7-year 3-month had more nuttiness and oak and vanilla on the finish. On the 7-year 3-month, this one, you can find it, get it, and I'm sure the liquor stores have no clue about marking it up. It's going to be about $60. Don't pay any more than $65. Great deal. This you'll probably never find again because they don't make it anymore, and if you do, it's probably sealed up and someone's probably asking $600 for it. You'll never taste it. That's good because the notes are much more subdued than these two. I've seen the 7-year 3-month on the shelves. If you can get it, great. But the latest one is the 8-year 1-month. Get it. If you see it, you'll enjoy it. It's, for a Jim Beam product, it's fantastic. So I highly recommend. It's not going to be allocated, and you won't be paying that price for it. So it's kick-ass. Hey, I'm Matt. If you like this content, this episode of the Bakers, because I try and stay away from the highly allocated bottles, get what people can afford. The highly allocated stuff, you know, the other people are jumping on the Russell's 13 that just came out, the Stag Junior, but it's the Stag that just came out. That's all great if you can get it for MSRP, or maybe even $20 over MSRP. If you can get it for that price, get it. But I guarantee you're going to be paying between $200 and $500 for those bottles. So don't think I'm not looking for it. I'm going to try and get it. But I know I probably won't get it. So I'm going to stick with the value whiskeys here that are just as good, if not better. Maybe I'll do a blind between a Stag and this and a barrel proof. If you like this content, hit the like button, subscribe, hit that bell when new content comes out. Share it with your friends. Leave the keys behind the bar. Have a good time. Drink with some friends. I'll talk to you later.